Esperance has some of the most beautiful coastline in Australia, and we'd driven a bloody long way to see it. Well, the wind blew almost non-stop. The most famous beach was packed. Pink Lake wasn't even pink, and sitting down somehow turned fish and chips into fine dining. So on paper, Esperance wasn't going particularly well, and yet we just didn't want to leave. So what happened? We drove the Great Ocean Drive twice. First time, it was windy and the ocean was misbehaving, so we did what any sensible traveller would do. We stopped at every lookout, wandered around the beaches, admired the ridiculously blue water, and just tried not to get blown into it. A couple of days later, we headed round again. Same road, same beaches, same lookouts, and same spectacular coastline. And remarkably, same bloody wind. At that point, we realised this wasn't a passing weather system. This was simply how Esperance said g'day. Fortunately though, the Great Ocean Drive is spectacular enough to get away with it. Every few minutes there's another lookout, another stretch of white sand, and another patch of blue water that looks slightly unrealistic. The wind kept trying to move us along. Esperance kept giving us reasons to stop. This is Blue Haven. Look at the colour of that water. It's pretty sheltered in here too by the looks. Just not sure how to get down to it. Twilight Beach was just beautiful. But because it was one of the few beaches offering a bit of protection from the wind, every other person in Esperance had worked that out as well. It was packed. Still gorgeous, but busy enough that you felt like you should take a number before heading down to the water. So we just didn't. We've just got it at a bad time with the wind and the waves, I think. And that's a trade-off. You could have a quiet beach and be blown halfway to Albany, or get out of the wind and share the place with most of the travelling population of WA. Twilight had the shelter, it also had the crowd. So we kept looking for somewhere a little bit quieter. And eventually we found 11 Mile Beach. Now it turned out to be one of our favourite spots around Esperance. It was pretty sheltered, good for a swim, and it just didn't have the crowds Twilight Beach had. There were still a few people around, but you could actually find your own bit of beach. You know, sometimes the best beach isn't the famous one. It's the one where you can actually relax. And 11 Mile turned out to be exactly that. And once we'd worked out what we were looking for, we found another one. Bandy Creek Boat Harbour. It's beautiful here, like nice spot out of the wind. We're going to sit here for a bit, maybe have a dip, and then we're going to head up to Stonehenge. It's not one of the famous Esperance postcard beaches, but it was sheltered, calm and actually swimmable. Basically all the things the famous beaches had temporarily decided not to be. Somewhere in amongst all this, we did actually have somewhere to stay. We based ourselves at the RAC Esperance Holiday Park for 4 nights. It's in a great spot, the amenities are really good, and once you're set up, it's a really good base for exploring Esperance. Getting set up, however, that can be interesting. The roads through the park are tight, really tight. With a caravan behind us and the Amarok out front, there are a couple of moments where another metre of road would have been appreciated. But we got in, got set up, and from then on, the park was perfect for what we needed. We also had a couple of less glamorous jobs we wanted to get done. After crossing the Nullarbor, the Amarok had collected enough dust and insects to qualify as its own ecosystem. So first up was a wash. Then we restocked the van. Norseman had covered the basics, but fresh food was fairly thin on the ground up there. So Esperance was the first proper chance we'd had in a while to fill everything back up. Fruit, salad, meat, snacks, the lot. Then with the car clean and the cupboards full, we could get back to the important business of being blown around Esperance. Here we are at Pink Lake, which is no longer pink, and that's due to a lot of environmental factors and whatnot. So now it's just a beautiful sight. I guess like most people, we expected to see a pink lake. That's the name, right? Instead, we found a perfectly normal looking lake. And I guess changing all the signs would have involved paperwork, so everyone appears to have agreed to just leave it. You still got Pink Lake, just without the pink bit. We had a wander around the harbour and checked out a few of the sculptures. Found that famous whale tail. Even had a seal cruising around under the jetty, which was pretty cool. And while we were poking around Esperance, we called into Wiley Head Beach. It's one of those Instagram famous spots where low tide you can walk out to the rocks just offshore. Naturally, we arrived at high tide. So we had a look, can confirm the rocks are still there, and now we're off to see what else we can find. And we found Aussie Stonehenge. Yep, Esperance has a Stonehenge. I think it's because the original's a bit inconveniently located for us Aussies. Now, before anyone says it, yes, it's a replica, but it's an exact replica, built to the same dimensions and using the same construction methods as the original. Cranes, trucks, that sort of stuff. Standing there, it's actually a really peaceful place. It's quiet, no crowds, and you can just wander around and take it all in. And whether you're interested in how it was built or you just want to see something a bit different, it's well worth the stop. It's basically Stonehenge as it would have been, just with more parking and fewer druids. With the wind still refusing to cooperate, we wanted to check out more of the stuff away from the beach, and first up was Bread Local. Now, it's only open on certain days, and if you want the good stuff, you got to get there early, which we did, and it was so worth it. The toasted sangers were excellent. This place turned out to be one of the better finds for the trip. Then we headed out to Lucky Bay Brewery, and it should come as no surprise to you that it was closed for a wedding, which is lovely for them but less useful for us. But fortunately, Esperance Distillery was still open. They had a thing last night in the caravan park, and they had the local distillery and they were selling drinks. So we're going to go up and have a look because we sort of liked a few of their drinks. So we're going to go up there and probably buy something. Maybe have a few gins, just try them, see how we go.
Your destination is on the left.
Between Bread Local and the distillery, Esperance had found a couple of very effective ways to make us forget about the wind for a while. Well, here we are again, another stuff up of the day. We decided to grab fish and chips from one of Esperance's most well-known shops, and rather than take it back to the van, we thought we'd sit down and eat there. Turns out, that's where we stuffed up. I had a pretty small piece of fish with chips and a drink, while Christine ordered a bowl of seafood chowder. The chowder contained one bit of calamari, a small bit of fish, and a solitary prawn quietly bobbing away in there. Then the bill arrived. $70! Seems like the difference between affordable fish and chips and what we got is this thing. It's the same fish, just with a different attitude. And to be fair, it all tasted pretty good. We just hadn't budgeted for the seated experience. While we were in Esperance, Australia entered what I'm calling the great fuel up. Diesel here went from $1.71 a litre to $3.37 in 3 days. Now, I know that was happening all over the country, and Esperance certainly wasn't alone there. The slight difference for us was that home was about 3,500 kilometres away. We got a long-range tank, which helps, but we thought, righto, let's grab a couple of jerry cans just so we can give ourselves a bit of insurance. Sensible plan, practical, mature? Impossible. Every jerry can in the region had vanished. Hardware stores, auto shops, servos, nothing. I think the whole country had reached the same sensible conclusion about 10 minutes before we did. We weren't panic buying. We were calmly trying to buy containers everyone else had already panic bought. Before long, though, every traveller in Australia seemed to know when the next tanker was due, where it was going, and roughly how far they could get if it didn't turn up. Now, last night, tomorrow we're going to head out to a farm stay called Nakuru farm stay, or Nakuru Pastoral actually. And that's out towards Cape Legrand National Park. From there we'll go out into Cape Legrand and look at Hellfire Beach, Little Hellfire, Lucky Bay, Frenchman's Peak. We'll see. We'd love to climb it, but we'll see. We're going to go and give it a go, and if it gets too hard for us, we'll just stop halfway. I don't care. So that's in the next few days. So we'll see you when we get out there. Esperance never quite gave us the beach weather we'd imagined. The wind stayed, the surf was too rough at most beaches, and when we finally found somewhere sheltered, everyone else had found it too. But somehow, none of that really mattered. We found quieter beaches, drove one of the most spectacular coastal roads we've ever seen, found a Stonehenge that saved us a trip to England, and still left with places we hadn't had time to properly explore. And while Esperance hadn't really gone according to plan, maybe that was the point. Because despite the wind, the crowds, the not-so-pink lake and $70 fish and chips, we still didn't want to leave. Although next time, a little less wind would be appreciated. Hey, if you enjoyed this one, please subscribe and join the Hakka experiment. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.